So yesterday we were discussing about this break-even analysis. So basically, uh, what we do is we have to classify all our production costs into two categories: fixed costs and variable costs. Actually, there are different ways of classifying costs. Like in the say when you want to calculate the cost of a product, then that calculation is different from say the kind of calculation that the kind of classification you use for break-even analysis. Basically, break-even analysis looks at what are the costs which are constant irrespective of volume of production. That kind of cost we call it as fixed cost. And those costs which change with the volume of production, we call it as variable costs. So here, uh, like for example, like insurance, then depreciation, taxes, annual maintenance, contract charges, interest rates, salaries of administrative staff. All these are fixed because AMC charges you pay at one time. And then normally you pay for a year. Similar variable cost means like which change with the volume of production, like direct material cost, direct labor cost, utilities cost, salaries of the daily wages. So here, yesterday we have seen that how analytically you can solve this. So like a revenue line, total revenue line is equal to M1X. Here M1 is the selling price, all right? And total cost line is it is of the form M2X plus C, where C is nothing but the fixed cost or intercept. If you take the above picture. So, and here the M2 is nothing but variable cost unit, right? So BEP, break-even point, occurs at when total revenue is equal to total cost. So that is nothing but M1X is equal to M2X plus C. Where so you solve for X and you say like it comes to as C by M1 minus M2. So that means uh, fixed cost by contribution per unit. So that comes to, so that is how, why we call it as contribution per unit is because it contributes to that margin. M1 minus M2 is nothing but your what do you call, you can say margin that is you have uh, to recover uh, to to recover your you say uh, fixed costs. So here, what we are doing is this is how like we calculate, and we have yesterday we have talked about this example that is uh, on. This is nothing. Uh, so we have here uh, where we have different alternatives to manufacture a component. One is you can become simply a trader. That means you buy the part and sell it, resell it. So, for example, if you buy it from some OEM fellow, it costs you 200 and you can sell it at 300. So, without greasing your hands, you can do business. But suppose you want to increase your profit margin, then in that case, you can set up your own unit to produce this same part. And here, like you can use either a NC automatic, semi-automatic lathe, where per unit variable cost will be 75, and or you can make it using a machining center where per unit machining cost is 15 rupees, right? So there is negligible fixed cost if the item is purchased, right? So a NC machine costs around 80,000 rupees, and then anyway machining center costs 2 lakh rupees. See, anyway, NC semi-automatic lathe will not be like, actually this 80,000 or 2 lakhs, they are fixed costs excluding the investment. Say, you can say they are, that includes depreciation, yearly depreciation, then insurance, whatever the fixed costs that are part of that particular. So naturally, machining center costs you heavy. So naturally, the machining center costs, the fixed cost component is 2 lakhs. So that is how. So here, uh, like you have two break-even points. One is when you want to decide between whether you want to go for machining center or semi-automatic lathe. So to find out that, what we do is we are equating, we are trying to find out what is the exact value at which they break even. So we have found, so what is the total cost of production using semi-automatic lathe is, NC's semi-automatic lathe is 80,000 plus 75 into the demand, anticipated demand, like is equal to 2 lakhs plus. So this is of the form M1X or M2X plus C. So here we are, and we are trying to find out what is the best option. So what is the break-even point where it doesn't make a difference between choosing NC semi-automatic lathe or machining center. So we have found that it is around 2000 units. Whereas if you have to choose between, say, uh, simply buying from outside or using semi-automatic lathe, here what we have found is that at the in the indifference point is 640 units. So if the, that means if the anticipated demand is less than 640, it is better to buy
Tr- Trade.
it is,
Sorry.
then make it buy NC semi-automatic lathe. So there is no point in, like, if the anticipated demand is less than 640, better don't set up any
Sir, less than 640 means trading is best option, no, sir?
trader. You are becoming basically a trader, right?
Yes, sir.
So you are not setting, you are not going to set up any manufacturing unit. But if the demand is more than 2000 units, it is better to choose a machining center than a semi-automatic. So if the demand is between 640 and 2000, probably the best option is, what is the best option?
Lathe. Lathe.
Yeah, NC semi-automatic lathe. Okay, so that is how, like, you solve this. That is how you make a decision between, like, which one is the best one, right? So here, uh, what we do is, that is how,
Sir, we
like,
use lathe only when it is more than 640 but less than 2000, no, sir?
what is that?
We use semi-automatic lathe when it is more than, demand is more than 640 and less than 2000.
Yes, yes, because beyond 2000, it is better to buy a
Machining center. Set up
machining center.
machining center.
Yes. So if it is, the demand is between 640 and 2000, then you go for NC semi-automatic lathe, right? So so that's why you, like, that means we are choosing different alternatives. We have to choose, like for example, it is something like machining center may be a bit a mass production type, whereas semi-automatic lathe may be batch production, something like that. So how to choose them? It depends on how the fixed cost and variable cost change with the demand or the production system. Now let us go to another problem. So here we have another one more example, that is a manufacturing process has a fixed cost of 1,50,000 per month, right? And then each unit of product being produced contains 25 rupees worth of material and takes 45 rupees of labor. How many units are needed to break even if each completed unit has a value of 90 rupees, right? So
We have
how
to
we do
find
it?
demand.
Huh?
We have to find demand. We know the profit and
Hmm.
we know
What is
selling
the
price, cost price, and a fixed price, fixed cost.
so how to solve this? See, as he said, so here, see, BEP is equal to fixed cost by contribution, right? So here fixed cost is 1 lakh
50,000.
50, right? And then divided by, what is the contribution here?
90 minus 45 plus 25.
Yes. So that means variable cost per unit is 25 rupees of material cost plus 25, 45 rupees of labor cost. So 70 is the labor cost, is the variable cost per unit, and 90 rupees is the, like you, it has a
Selling
value.
price.
So that means 90 minus 70. So it comes to how much?
7,500.
Yes, so 7,500.
That means here, unless, unless he sells around 7,500 units, he cannot break even. Only he will start seeing profits beyond 7,500. But till that time, anything, like suppose if he produces 7,000, so what is the expected loss for him?
Pardon, sir?
Suppose he produces only 7,000 units. What is the amount of loss he is likely to incur?
500 into 70.
500 into, no, no.
500 to 90.
500 into 70 he will spend extra, no sir. So that is a loss.
But we have to
Sir, once
distribute.
try, actually it will only come in final, I think, because he is short of 500 units and each unit he will spend 70 rupees. So 500 into 70 is
Let us calculate. Let us calculate. So 90 into 7,000 minus, huh? 1
15,
lakh,
1,50,000
huh?
minus
Minus,
70 into 7,000.
How much it is coming? T into 7,000, 14,000.
So 10,000 I could.
Huh? What is that?
10,000.
So how much loss he is likely to get?
10,000, sir.
10,000? Okay. It is coming as 10,000.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So that is the how like we calculate. What was the so 500? So that contribution into that amount number of units. So are you able to get it? So what
Yes,
was
sir.
the option you said, Satish?
Actually, I did not consider that 1,50,000. That's why. Yeah, that fixed cost is playing zero, sir. I took Y
Okay.
equal to MX.
Okay. So here contribution into the number of units that is falling short of break even. In that way also we can guess it. Right? That is 20 into 500. That comes to 10,000. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now what about the second problem? What is the break even point?
900.
900. Then what about the
Sir, what about?
how many more units must be sold to make a profit of 500?
1,400, sir.
Then what about C? So anyway, for C, you break your head, right? We will come back. Let's see you solve that for the next class. Okay. So we will move to the next point. Okay.
Sir,
So
like, can you
next,
explain the question of it, like C part?
that's why I left you how you interpret.
Okay, sir.
So here, now coming to uh, line balancing. So here, see, when we get this problem of line balancing in production management is when say suppose you have by doing break even analysis you have found that producing because based on the anticipated demand you have found that mass production system is the best option. Let us say like you have high volumes requirement and you thought of going for uh, a mass production system, right? Then for that, like normally the major irritation or major difficult thing in line balance in mass production system is line balancing. So line balancing means line balancing is a production strategy that involves balancing operator and machine time to match the production rate to the time. So what is this takt time? Takt time is the rate at which parts or products must be produced in order to meet customer demand. Okay, Uh, that means like at what rate? Say for example, like if you take, mm, it is said that the time with which Henry Ford was producing his T model black car was around 38 seconds or 40 seconds. That means he is able to turn out a car for every 40 seconds. That is the speed at which he was turning out his T model. Because he was producing at that rate, at that speed, over a period of time, he could reduce the price of the car from $960 to $280. So that is the beauty of mass production system. The more volumes you produce, you tend to reduce the cost of production, because you can you can you are able to, by you are, see, by reducing the like even though the profit per unit may be less, but when you are producing things in millions, that itself will recover most of your fixed costs. So here what we here what we are doing, see, you have to, what should be the takt time means, that is again dictated by the customer demand or anticipated demand. So here, and this, how we will calculate this takt time, anyway we are going to discuss in the subsequent slides. So here, what we mean by line balancing is line balancing is simply the assignment of the right number of workers and machines to each assembly line segment, right? So line balancing is simply the assignment of a right number of workers and machines to each assembly line segment. That means the, like for example, problem here is so you have a flow line, all right? Here you have workstations. So workers will be sitting along a conveyor belt. Say, let us say this is the moving assembly line. So this is workstation 1, workstation 2, workstation 3, like that. Workstation 4, let us say. So this is the, so like once the rough chassis starts here, the car, this at workstation 1, a worker may be mounting tires. Then in the next workstation, the worker will be only putting bolts and nuts. So here in moving assembly line, you finally divide the work elements into small units. Suppose if your takt time is say 30, say let us say round, have a round of figure, like say 40 seconds. That means you, in each workstation, you try to incorporate work elements which can be completed in 40 seconds. So in an assembly line balancing, what we do is we will try to see that in each workstation, the total work content of each workstation is not more than 40 seconds. Suppose if this guy takes 40 seconds to mount a tire onto the axle, for the what do you call, for tightening the bolts, again you assign that to another workstation, because each of the workstations should not take more than 40 seconds if your time is 40 seconds. That means because you want to turn out one unit for every 40 seconds. So sometimes what happens is certain, you may not able to exactly balance each of these workstations at exactly 40 seconds. Say something like one may take 40, another may take say 45, this may take 35, right? So it is rather, and another, the last one may take 41. Then what happens is this 45-second workstation, that is workstation 3, will act as a bottleneck. So you have to either transfer certain work elements from
Sir,
workstation. Huh?
sir, we can keep the highest time taking at last, if possible, towards the
Yeah,
end.
whether you put it in the front or last.
No, sir, if it is in the front, then if
Hmm.
is delayed by 45, I mean 5 seconds, everyone will be delayed after that, no, sir.
Yes, yes. Yeah, it is better to keep it in the end, but at the same time, this will decide the total production rate. This will become the bottleneck. So you have to somehow break your head to at least transfer 5 seconds worth of work to the previous workstation, so that you achieve the takt time of 40, giving turning out one product for every 40 seconds. Okay,
Okay,
so
sir,
that is,
understood.
so this is actually a very, like, that's why designing a mass production line is a tough task, but running it is very, very easy. Once you have fine-tuned all the workstations with exactly 40 seconds or 50 seconds, whatever the takt time you have calculated, then based on that, now you put it in almost like a autopilot mode. All right. So this is how, like, you try to design try to balance a line in the case of a mass production system. So 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 what are the how you do like steps in assembly line balance? See, there are two types of line balancing: fabrication and assembly. See, fabrication in the sense like fabric uh, balancing a fabrication assembly fabrication line is a bit tough, because it may involve welding, cutting, machining. But whereas assembly line is normally much easier. Okay, so so the first step in assembly line balancing is specify the specify the sequential relationships among tasks using precedence diagram, right? So I will tell you like how that looks like, and then the diagram consists of circles, and the circles represent individual tasks. Arrows indicate the uh, order of task performance. This is similar to the project network AON diagram. Activity on arrow, activity on node. That is the full form of that AON diagram. So anyway, we will do some problems on AON when we talk about project management. So the second step is estimate the needed workstation cycle time C for each workstation using the formula, that is uh, C is equal to production time per day divided by required output per day in units. Okay, so that means, say uh, this is nothing but this needed workstation cycle time is nothing but your takt time. Okay, so this is production time per day means, say for example, like suppose you are working one shift per day. So suppose you work 8 hours, then in each hour you have say 60 minutes. So that when comes to the production time per day is 480 minutes. Suppose, sir, workers may not work 480 because you have to give 1 hour break for lunch and other personal needs like going to toilet and to drink tea or coffee or water. Then you can conservatively put this as 7 hours. See, anyway, it is left to you. Like let us say like the workers have to work 8 hours full shift. Whatever the extra time that you take, they take for lunch and everything. That is say that is extra. Like say you may put it like it is 9 hours. But anyway, what is your realistic production time? Suppose if the plant works 2 shifts, then in that case, so 16 hours into 60. And then required output per day in units. Suppose like Kia Motors has set up a plant in Anantapur. They say like we want to produce 1 lakh units per uh, per year. In that case, per day, let us assume that the plant works only 300 days, removing Saturday, Sunday, and some national holidays. So based on this 300 days of working days, you try to calculate what is the required output per day, right? So when you divide this 480 by this daily production rate, then you automatically you get the cycle time, right? So now the third step in assembly line balancing is calculate the hypothetical minimum number of workstations NT you will need to satisfy workstation cycle time constraint using the formula. Okay, so how many workstations you need? Suppose you want to, then what you do is NT is nothing but sum of task times by cycle time, right? Say like if you take a Henry Ford example, like the sum of total time, total like he said like he has reduced the assembly time of each car from 12 hours to 90 minutes. So here the sum of total uh, he has around 90 minutes to assemble a car total time, and whereas what are assuming that he has turned out he was turning out around 40 one car for every 40 seconds. Now what is the total number of uh, units, total number of uh, what is the hypothetical minimum number of workstations he should have in his moving assembly line? Hmm? So that comes to 90 into 60. You convert that into seconds by 40.
135.
So, huh?
135, sir.
135, huh? Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that means his moving assembly line has how many workstations theoretically? 135 workstations are there. To complete one car, to turn out one car for every 40 seconds.
40 seconds.
So that is the how he has. This is the theoretical, not exact. Actually, he may be taking 140 because you may not able to exactly time each workstation at exactly 40. Some 1 or 2 workstations may be and crossing beyond 40, maybe 42, 43 seconds, right? So that is how like so To assemble T model black car, he was employing a minimum of 135 workers sitting along a production line, moving assembly line, each contributing around 40 seconds worth of work to each workstation.
Each car.
Huh?
Each car, no, sir.
Huh?
Each car. For each
Each
car.
car. For each car, every worker, every one of these 135 workers, they are contributing only 40 seconds of worth of work to each car. See, I told you now, like Henry Ford, he was simply applying what? He has taken that slogan. What is that slogan? He has
Divide the work, multiply the
divide the work, multiply the output. The more you finally divide, then naturally the workstation times will come down. You can push the production at a very fast rate. So that's why from all over the world, people used to visit Henry Ford's River Road plant in Detroit to see this magic. How come this guy is turning out a big car like T model in just 40 seconds? How is he able to turn out one car for every 40 seconds? Right? So that is the mantra this guy was using. Right? So this is so third step is calculate the theoretical. See, this is the theoretical, but actually he may be using 140 or depending on how he ended up exactly minimizing it to 140 40. Maybe sometimes, even if it is sometimes it is a question of, see, this is an iterative problem. It is not a in one go you solve this. See, you end up certain workstations taking more than the time. Then you break your head on how to reduce that time for that particular workstation. Anyway, we are coming to that strategies in the subsequent slides. So here, what we do, what is the fourth step is we take select a primary rule by which tasks are to be assigned to workstation and a secondary rule to break the ties. So this is anyway a simple common sense algorithm. What this really means is you use some heuristic or thumb rules on how to prioritize in allocating tasks to a particular workstation. See, you may combine 2-3 tasks to be allocated to in a single workstation. Say, for example, suppose suppose that this guy takes only 10 seconds to put the tire and to tighten the bolts another 20 seconds and tighten the bolts, mount the bolts, and as well tighten them. It comes to say, so that means you have in a single workstation you might have to assign 3 tasks like putting the tire, then mm, putting the
Mounting the
bolts, and then
bolts.
tightening them. So you have to select. The only thing is you have to take care whether you are following the technological precedence for this. Are you able to follow the technological precedence? How you are checking that is through this. I will tell you like how this looks like. So this is an example. Like say, for example, here there is a. So here you have what are the tasks here, and then what are the task times. Say like for example, so like here task that must precede. So like you can read the problem. Model J wagon is to be assembled on a conveyor belt. 500 wagons are required per day. Production time per day is 420 units. That means he is taking 7 hours as the working time. And the assembly steps and times for the wagon are given in the following table. Find uh, find the balance that minimizes the number of workstations subject to cycle time and precedence constraints. So this is what we mean by the precedence requirement. That means you cannot decide the task in the way you want. Like for example, you can take up task B, like insert rear axle, unless you position the rear axle. So there is a technological constraint. There is a precedence requirement. So it is just like house construction. Unless you have dig the foundation, you can't have the foundations. Similarly, unless foundations are finished, you can't construct the walls. Unless the walls are constructed, you can't put the slab. So just
Before
like that,
walls, pillars should be there.
huh?
Before walls, pillars should be there.
So like that means there is a technological precedence. So there is a only certain times you can have some flexibility for certain tasks. You can shuffle them, but overally there is a constraint on how you choose your next element. Right? So that is how like so this is the total task times is 195 say seconds, and so that is for this what we do is, so here you can see the cycle time is production time per day by output per day. So here we said like 60 seconds into 420 minutes by 500 wagons, because here we require 500 wagons. Maybe this is a toy wagon, like so here since you require 500 wagons per day, so what is the cycle time is 25,200 seconds by 500. So that means you should turn out one toy wagon for every 50.4 seconds, right? So that is how like you calculate the cycle time. And then here the theoretical minimum number of workstations is nothing but NT is equal to total assembly time by cycle time. That gives, so that means you need 4 workstations. Whereas in the Henry Ford case, we have found that it should have at least 135. So this is a simple so you have to assign. So how that whatever the table, this table whatever you are seeing here, that has to be converted into a network diagram like this. You are seeing now. So here this is what we call it as AON diagram, activity on node. So this, whereas arrow represents the technological precedence. So here we are saying unless task A is completed, you cannot start the task B. Right? Similarly, you are saying task C can only start once B is completed. Whereas D is the first one. It doesn't have any, A and D doesn't have any immediate predecessors. They can be start without any prior requirement. So here, like, and you prioritize tasks. So how you prioritize means, like, what are the number of subsequent tasks that are there for A, and what are the number of tasks that are there for, say, D or other tasks. So for A, you have maximum of 6. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, including it. It is around wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So including A, the number of tasks in that path is 6, right? Whereas
Sir,
per
not including A, right? Including F and G. B, C, F, G, J, K.
G, C, G,
Above
JK.
F is also there, no, sir?
Huh?
Above F is also there in 12. Yes, sir.
Mm,
F and G are
yeah,
independent,
yeah,
but
yes. Yeah. How many subsequent tasks have to be completed to reach it? Yeah. So here, that is how you uh, calculate the prioritize the tasks. So the one which has lot of tasks to be completed subsequently, you try to do it, try to allocate to a particular workstation. Say for example, 45, like you are allocating task A 45 to this. So what is the remaining idle time we have is in this workstation is 5.4 seconds, because each what you call workstation should not have not more than total combined task value should not be more than 50.4, because our tact time is calculated based on the anticipated demand. That is, we have to produce 500 units per day. So similarly, what we have done, then we have taken next workstation at 50. Then what we did, so in workstation 3, so we are just seeing like without technological violation, what tasks can be allocated. So for workstation 3, we have allocated 4 tasks: B, E, B, E, C, and F. Because when we are allocating F, we have seen to it that the B and C are also allocated in the same workstation or in the previous workstation. And similarly, why we have included E is because D is already completed in workstation 2. So this is what we mean by without violating technological precedence, you should allocate work elements, task times, tasks to each workstation. So like this, you try to allocate here. What is the actually what we have found is that theoretically we are supposed to complete this entire assembly in using only 4 workstations. But unfortunately, this because of this technological precedence requirement, you see that the last task has a total idle time of 41.4 seconds. So this is a very lousy assembly design, because ultimately how you estimate, how you find out the efficiency of a line is total task time by actual number of workstations, that is 5. Instead of 4, we had to use 5, and this comes to 77%. So the balance delay, how much wastage you can get it from this 23%, right? So here what we are doing is that this is how like you try to use this. So select a primary rule by which asked. Here, what is the primary rule that we have used is how many subsequent tasks have to be completed, right? That is the primary rule. Secondary rule means maybe you can use a secondary rule like what is the out of the 2 tasks which are competing for this allocation, whichever it takes more time or less time, you take that as a rule and then allocate to a particular workstation. All right. Assign tasks one at a time to the first workstation until the sum of the task times is equal to the workstation cycle, or no other tasks are feasible because of time or sequence restrictions. Repeat the process for the subsequent workstations. All right. And then sixth step is evaluate the efficiency of the balance derived using the formula efficiency is equal to total time by where NEA is nothing but the actual number of workstations into cycle time. If efficiency is unsatisfactory, rebalance using get a different decision rule, right? You can try for some other alternatives to see like if it is whether we can without disturbing anything whether we can reallocate, right? So that is how like you adopt the procedure for assembly line balancing. So here, say for example, so what are the solutions for an unbalanced line? Here, often the biggest, often the longest required task defines the shortest possible workstation cycle time for the production line. Okay, so how we do it? So the possible solutions could be split the task, right? Suppose you are not able to say sometimes task time, if it is more than the workstation cycle time, then naturally you have to split the task because otherwise that the task time will become the bottleneck for the entire assembly line.
We can add more workers also, no, sir?
Yeah, see, ultimately what we have, whether you have to add worker or if it is a semi-automatic operation, whether to add one more what you call machine, right? So you see, there is nothing like only this is the solution. Whether addition of worker or addition of machine or even sometimes you split the task. That means as I have said before now, like you have in one workstation 45 seconds, in another only 35. Whether splitting the task might and transferring to the either before workstation or after the workstation, as long as you don't harm the technological precedence. So here some of the possible solutions could be you can split the task, share the task. Share the task means, as you said, like adding one more worker. Instead of only one worker for each workstation, you can put one more worker and share the task. Or sometimes you share the task with the before worker or after the worker, after the workstation worker. That means you say like you half complete it and transfer to the other guy, and he will take on because he has some extra time to spare. Or use parallel workstations. Use a more skilled worker. See, certain workers are more skilled; they can do faster. Right? So sometimes an expert, a skilled worker can solve your. Huh? It's a skilled worker can solve your problem, or you do work overtime. Work overtime means what you do is, see, normally what happens is uh, to clear the backlog because you are acting as a bottleneck. No, maybe certain workstations they may start before the shift itself to clear the backlog, or after the shift to clear the backlog. That means a particular workstation might be doing some beyond the shift. Okay, and or sometimes redesign the product. So you try to see we have a technique called DFMA, design for manufacturing and assembly. So your design, sometimes simplifying your design might even redesigning the product for assembly convenience might give you an edge. So these are the solutions for a what you call assembly line balancing. So either you split the task, share the task, use parallel workstations, use a more skilled worker. Actually, for all these things, we are going to solve this particular bottleneck workstation. Sometimes we adopt a technique called work study or method study. So, which we are going to study in the next chapter. So, one of the best solution for this is whether to which of these options are good, whether splitting the task is good or sharing the task is good or parallel workstation, a more skilled worker, overtime. All this can be solved using a technique called work study. So work study is a comprehensive approach to work, which was again that work study technique was invented by none other than our father of industrial management, scientific management. Who is that guy?
Taylor.
Hmm?
F.W. Taylor.
F.W. Taylor. Who is the mother of industrial engineering?
Pale. Henry Pale.
The mother is considered to be the Gilbert. Actually, Taylor and Gilbert, you can consider them as mother and father of scientific management. Like father of scientific management is, even though particularly for this work study, if father of work study is Frederick Taylor, mother is considered to be Gilbert, Frank Gilbert. Anyway, we'll come to know about this in depth, a subsequent chapter. But here, this is how like you solve it. So then we will in the next class we will talk about this functional or process work center layout design. Okay, we will. That is, this is but nothing but your what you call process layout, which is the where normally this functional or process layout is useful for which kind of production system?
Function type.
Functional type of layout is useful for what kind of production system?
Process or something. Process type. Or
Process or functional is same here. For what kind of production system this is good? This layout is. Whereas for mass production system, you use for line layout or product layout. For product layout, so like this is nothing but line balancing is used for product layout or line layout.
job type.
So whereas this process layout or functional layout is useful for job order production system. Okay, which we will discuss in the next class. Okay, what is the design issues in when you are going for a job order production system? So for job order production system, the best layout is functional or process layout, right? So how to design that, and what is the design criteria we use in designing a functional layout? So that we will discuss in the next class. Okay.
Sir, can you once go to the question you asked? ABC.
Uh-huh.
The third one is getting negative, sir, for some reason.
Yeah, that means what?
It's not possible.
Yes, it's not a viable. So anyway, we'll discuss in the next class. So the okay, shall I wind up?
1.5 rupees per
Uh,
one, what is that? One output is not feasible, sir.
Yes, yes. So that means it is not viable to produce. Because assuming that you don't have any control on the system. So shall I exit?
Yes, sir. Thank you.